Hello, and thank you for calling in this morning, MYM Insiders. This is Rich Harshaw, and we are here for our Tuesday morning ad clinic. And we're going to jump right in. We've got a couple of submissions today. And our first one is from Chip Marvin from Freelight. And let me see if I can find Chip on my attendee list. All right, Chip, I see that you're on the line. However, I see that you do need to enter your PIN, which this is a specific PIN for Chip. Nobody else enter this PIN except for Chip. Otherwise, the system will confuse you for Chip. The PIN is #66#. Okay, I don't see you coming live, Chip. Try #66#. Should do the trick. Let's try something here. Let's see here. Let me try Megan and then come back to Chip. All right, let's try Megan real quick. Megan, are you there? Hello, Megan Bishop. Come in, Megan. All right, we're having a real win today, Megan and Chip. I've got you both on the call, but I can't talk to either one of you for some reason. Megan, can you turn up the volume on your microphone, perhaps? You see you're on a voice over IP, or unmute your microphone, per chance. Okay, Megan, I see you've now dialed in on a phone. You need to enter your PIN. Your pound is #64#. Chip's is #66#. Megan's is #64#. There you go. Megan, are you there?
I'm here now.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I just hadn't clicked on telephone. I would still clicked on mic and speakers. I wonder if that's happening to Chip too.
I don't know. He was showing up as a phone. I've got little icons that show. One of them is either a phone or a microphone. Mm-hmm. And you had originally showed up as a microphone, and now you've switched over to a phone. So there you are.
Yeah.
At any rate,
I'm here.
Okay. By the way, Chip, Judy's going to reach out to you to try to troubleshoot your situation. We'll talk to Megan here, and then we'll jump back over to you. Okay, I've got some ads here. I'm going to put these up on the screen. Tell me when you can see them on your screen. It should be very momentarily.
Oh, great. All of my typos will be up there. All right.
Okay. Can you see them on your screen?
I sure can.
Okay, so tell me about these ads for a minute, generically, not specific to the coffee, but is this, are you already running ads on this station? Is it something new? Is it something you've been doing for a long time? What's the situation?
Nope, it's a new campaign that we want to do. We haven't done radio in a few years, and Steve, the owner of Upscale Remodeling, just bought, as you know, he has the showroom now, so he wants to advertise and try to get some traffic into the showroom. And the reason we came to you is because we have 3 different campaigns from 3 different marketing people. Well, actually, one came from Steve, one came from a marketing friend that he has, and one came from me, the 3 different campaigns. And we all like our own campaign, and we can't decide where to go with it.
When you say campaign, you mean radio campaign?
Yes, radio campaign, sorry, yep. We're just talking about radio today.
Okay. So tell me exactly what that means. Does that mean that you have written some ads and somebody else has written some ads and you're trying to decide which ones you like the best?
Absolutely. That's exactly it.
Okay. So what am I looking at then? Am I looking at some that each person has written?
Yep. Ad sample 1 was written by one of us, and it's a conversation between two women speaking. And then ad sample 2 will be something different, and ad sample 3 will be something different, representing our 3 different
interesting
styles.
All right, so you're not going to tell me who, so I can not be swayed by, oh, yes, Megan, yours is awesome.
Yes, I want you to say that, and I hope Steve is listening and hears you say that. But I do want to say this, that once you tell us, once you give us your opinion and we all agree with it, we will then develop more ads in that style. We don't want to have 3 different styles. That, as a marketing person myself, that's ridiculous. I wouldn't do that. So say you liked this first copy where it's 2 women speaking, then we would do a series of ads based with 2 people talking. So whatever the style is, that we'll stick with. I'm not going to be so schizophrenic to have 3 different styles in my radio advertising.
I hear you. Okay, so let's take a look. 2 women talking. Wow, who remodeled your kitchen? We had the guys at Upscale Remodeling do it. They came highly recommended. Boy, they sure did a great job. Tell me about it. We really lucked out. They were so great to work with. I've heard about them, but they were kind of expensive. They weren't really, and besides, Peter and I didn't care much about the price. We wanted high quality, wanted it done right without any hassles and frustrations. We weren't going to do it again. We believe you get what you pay for, especially these days. Except for a couple of minor changes, the price they quoted was the price we paid, and they put everything in writing. They are true professionals. Plus, they back their work with 100% with a 5-year workmanship warranty. You and Bill should call them about the project you're planning. Here's their number. We will. We have one regret. We should have called them sooner. Cue laughter. We could have been enjoying this much sooner. We'll definitely call them. Okay. So there's number 1. Let's just go through all of them, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We'll call that women talking. Number 2, are you thinking of remodeling? There's only one company in the region with these reviews. Let's see. From Jess, Upscale Remodeling was completely professional, provided excellent work from planning to execution. From Anita, Upscale was highly recommended because of their design, sensitivity, and meticulous workmanship. Okay, so we've already got a couple of mismatches going on in these 2 ads. So you're asking me a couple of things. One of them is you're asking me, well, what style do you like? Do you like the women talking, or do you like the testimonial
DJ voice,
reviews?
Yeah.
Well, here's the problem with this. This is not necessarily a comment on reviews in and of themselves and putting them on a radio ad. The problem is that these reviews are really, really generic and platitudinal, so I don't like them. Doesn't mean that we couldn't substitute them with more specific. When we go back to the women talking, what I like about this ad, I'm a big believer in we've got to have the identity strongly discussed and talked about in a powerful way in the ad. And, the beginning part of the ad should be designed to get people to want to listen to the ad, to either be curious about, well, what's this about, or, hey, that sounds funny or cute or unique or interesting. There's lots of different methods of getting people intrigued with the ad.
Sure.
I'll tell you my favorite in just a minute. So you're using 2 different ways to get people intrigued. One is we've got some women talking. The other is we've got this reviews. So
right.
I guess what I'm trying to do is...
I don't mean to interrupt. You do know there's a 3rd, right?
Yeah, I do. I know that.
Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
But I got so thrown off on the second one by the lack of powerful testimonials and reviews that I wanted to stop and say, it's not the reviews approach per se that I'm having a problem with. It's the reviews themselves I'm having a problem with. But if we go back to the first one, which is on the screen right now, this paragraph right here that I've got highlighted now in blue, it's really strong. Now, is it exactly the way that it should be said? Is there a way to say it even more powerful? Well, maybe. But even without asking that question, there's a lot of real strong stuff going on in this blue highlighted paragraph. Okay? We're not as worried about the price. We'd already asked, are they expensive? Not really, but the price isn't important. High quality, without frustrations. We don't want to do it again. You get what you pay for, except for a couple things. The price is what they quoted. They put it in writing. It's packed for work. There's a warranty. I mean, this is just, you know, if this was a boxing match, this is boom, boom, boom. You just keep coming at him, man. And it's good.
Right.
I like that. Because these are the things that you stand for, identity, and these are the things that you want to communicate in the radio ad. When we get down here to the other one, it all goes out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Upscale Remodeling was completely professional, provided excellent work from planning to execution. It's just way too generic. Nobody's going to hear that and go, wow, you know, that's what I'm looking for. They're going to listen to that and go, oh, wow, that's exactly what I would expect people to say. And so therefore it becomes a platitude, people tune out, and it's not powerful. The second one, highly recommended because of their design sensitivity and meticulous workmanship. If you're planning a high-quality renovation product, contact Upscale Remodeling because it lives up to its name. Now, Megan, if this is yours, then, you know, take it like a man.
What'd you say? If it's mine, what?
If it's yours, you're just going to, there's really no female equivalent of take it like a man. But whatever the female equivalent of take it like a man is, I mean, hopefully you can take it like a man because, you know, I really dislike these reviews. I think they're way, way too generic and platitudinous, okay? As each product proceeded, we were amazed at the quality of the workmanship, refusal to cut corners. So this one may be salvageable if we could find some stronger testimonials, but these ones are not going to do the trick. Okay?
I got you. I'm still not going to tell you if it's mine yet. I'll tell you at the end.
Okay, now number 3. If you close your eyes and picture your fantasy kitchen, what would it look like? Close them now. What do you see? Unless you're driving, right?
Right.
Do you see rich cherry cabinets, emerald granite countertops, a generous island at seat 6? Do you see breakfast nook for a cozy cup of coffee in the sun? Would you have a pull-out shelves, soft recessed lights, stainless steel sink so deep and wide that you could climb in and swim laps? All of your ideas are terrific. Upscale Remodeling in Freeville. So this is more of a straightforward approach. We don't have the what's the word I'm looking for? The technique or we're not using the technique of the woman or the reviews. This is more of a straightforward. We ask people to imagine this. One of the problems I have with this is you get so specific so quickly that you're inviting people to mismatch. Do you see rich cherry cabinets, to which they very well may reply, well, no, that's not what I want in my kitchen. And now we've got people picking apart the details, which really aren't even that important in the first place. Emerald granite countertops. So then I have to kind of stop down and go, okay, emerald granite, I know what granite is, I know what a countertop is, I know what emerald is, but what is it, like a green countertop? And it's making me kind of go, what, a green countertop? Huh? Now, I don't know what an emerald granite countertop is. Is it indeed a green countertop?
Yes.
Okay.
Green flat.
Which may be, first, again, I'm not trying to pick on emerald granite countertop. I'm using this as an example to say you're throwing things at people that are causing them to bog down. It's like a speed bump if you're driving through a parking lot, and it's making people go, oh, what? Huh? What's that? Granite? You know, what is it? Do I really like that? And then meanwhile, you're, 5-10 seconds ahead in the commercial while they're still thinking about that.
Right.
You see rich cherry cabinets, a generous island at seat 6. Do you see a breakfast nook or a cozy cup of coffee? Would you have pull-out shelves, soft recessed lighting, and stainless steel sinks so deep and so wide that you could climb in and swim laps? All of your ideas are terrific. Upscale Remodeling in Freeville has a certified kitchen designer on staff who take your ideas and ours and turn them into beautiful fruition. Visit the showroom. So, this one to me feels a lot more like a standard commercial, and that's not good. Whenever people hear something and their perception is, oh, here's a commercial. Now, people know it's a commercial, right? No one's put off by the fact that, oh, hey, it's a commercial. But when people hear something that sounds very familiar and similar to 1,000 other commercials they've heard, then it tends to get lost. Okay? So I look at this one and I go, okay, that, I think there's something we could play with maybe in the beginning that's imagine. When we get past that imagine part and we get into here's about us, you get very generic very quickly. Now, you might say, well, no, that's not generic. That's, we do this and hardly anybody else does, but you don't really understand and get that sense from listening to the words. We have a certified kitchen designer on staff. We take your ideas, turn them into beautiful fruition, visit their showroom for inspiration, talk with a team that wants to build your fantasy kitchen. I mean, this just sounds like junk you would hear in a radio commercial for anybody. And so it doesn't really set you apart much, even though those things might indeed be interesting setting apart type things. You follow me?
I do follow you.
So I would say out of these 3 ads, you're asking me 2 different questions. One question is, which sort of setup do you like best? And then I guess ultimately, what content do you like best? But I think there's some decent setups that have not very good content that maybe could be improved with better content.
I mean, we didn't, when I told Steve I was going to turn all these into you, we didn't go through and pick them apart and make them better. These were first drafts from all of us. So I don't think that they were the best to be. Yeah. But I want to ask you, all right, you know what, I'll let you go on and then I have some questions.
No, go ahead, ask a question.
Okay, well, my question is on the first one. I'm trying to move your screen. On the first one, when in the third ad, you said something like, well, everybody knows it's a commercial and no one falls to because they know it's a commercial. We're not fooling anybody. So on the first one, is there issue? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, you're right, because there is some issue with that on number 1. Let me be more specific what I mean about it's a commercial. It's a normal commercial. It's an expected commercial. It's the commercial that I've heard 10,000 times for every product and service under the sun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what we want to avoid. That can happen a couple of different ways. It can happen with familiar setups of commercials, which, yeah, you're right. You're in danger of that with this first commercial.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that with the announcer and the tone of the individuals that are talking. You can take a great ad and put the wrong announcer voice or voiceover, and you can kill it.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 is with the types of words that you use. So, in other words, you could take this woman talking to another woman, and it becomes a very familiar construct for an advertisement, which is dangerous. But if they're saying things that are a little bit unexpected or different, then you can overcome that.
Right. Does the number 1 get better if we use live people? Actual consumers, actual clients of ours, kind of prepped so that we know what they're going to say. It doesn't become better.
It becomes worse almost for sure, because normal people don't know how to record stuff on radio, and you stick a microphone in front of their face and they freeze up and they do all kinds of not good things.
Yes, we love upscale remodeling. Yeah, I know.
We've all seen them.
Yeah. So, okay, so that was my question with number 1. My question with number 2 is, clearly, if that were going to work, it needs better content. So my next question is with number 3. If you could scroll down there. Oh, actually, I have it in front of me, don't I? Let's see.
I just scrolled down.
Oh, did you? Okay. I want to read that to you and see if it sounds better when it's read the way it was written, because I know how it was written, whether I wrote it or not. I know how it was written. So can I read that and see if it changes your opinion, or do you know it won't?
I'll read it the way that I think you probably meant it to sound.
Okay.
Want to try that game?
Sure.
Now, do you want a female voice or a male voice on this?
Female.
That's what I expect. So I can't really deliver that, but I think it's going to sound more like this. If you closed your eyes and pictured your fantasy kitchen, what would it look like? Close them now. What do you see? Do you see rich cherry cabinets, emerald granite countertops, a generous island that seats 6? Do you see breakfast nook for a cozy cup of coffee in the sun? Would you have pull-out shelves, soft recessed lighting, and a stainless steel sink so wide and so deep that you could climb in and swim laps? Is that more like it?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I don't want to tell you. No, I really.
You
let
go.
me read it. Yeah. If you closed your eyes and pictured your fantasy kitchen, what would it look like? Close them now. What do you see? Do you see rich cherry cabinets, emerald granite countertops, a generous island that seats six? Do you see a breakfast nook for a cozy cup of coffee in the sun? Would you have pull-out shelves, soft recessed lighting, and a stainless steel sink so deep and wide that you could climb in and swim laps? All of your ideas are terrific. It's a little bit softer than you read it. I think that it's
good. I like it.
To have more like of a fantasy feel to it.
The way that you just said it is the way that I was hearing it in my brain, but not in my voice. So that's good.
You read it. Maybe you're not a female.
Yeah, that's good and bad. It's bad when I'm trying to say ads like a female. It's good all the rest of the time.
Right.
So anyway, I like that construct. I think it's pretty good. Let me offer a couple of minor suggestions for it.
Yep.
Number one, my criticism of the ad earlier focused not on the beginning, but on the middle and end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So when I said, Upscale Remodeling in Freeville as a certified kitchen designer on staff, we take all your ideas and ours, turn them into beautiful fruition, visit the showroom. This is the part that sounds very, very expected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And this isn't really identity-based stuff. There's really nothing in here that communicates in a powerful way that you can deliver this, unbelievable product.
Right.
Because you're using very normal language.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
So there's one thing. Let's come back and address that in a minute. Let's go back to the first part. Let me offer just some really minor suggestions that I think could make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
If you close your eyes and pictured your fantasy kitchen, what would it look like? Close them right now. What do you see? You see rich cherry cabinets, emerald green countertops, a generous island that seats 6. I would insert the word "or" right here.
Mm-hmm.
Or you see a breakfast nook. Now, that word "or" gives them permission mentally to not accept what you just said.
Right.
Okay? Well, maybe, and you're saying, what you're communicating is, well, maybe that it's that. That's pretty cool. But maybe it's this other thing over here.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's something completely different. What is it? Whatever it is, that's, something we can deliver on, right?
Right.
Instead, you're not saying this with authority that you're imposing rich cherry cabinets on them. But
that's a good point. Yeah.
Okay, you're not saying it that harshly, but it kind of comes across. Oh, well, we're the company that specializes in rich cherry cabinets and emerald green countertops. That's what we do. That's not what you do, and I'm exaggerating this to make the point. I'm not suggesting that people are that stupid and they go, well, I guess we have no choice with these guys. That's not what they're thinking. But don't minimize how much one little word change can shift that.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you see a breakfast nook for a cozy cup of coffee? Because listen to this. I want you to – there's some really deep things going on here, and I'm going to point them out to you, okay? We don't normally get this deep on these calls, but I'm going to point them out to you. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Rich cherry cabinets, emerald granite countertops, a generous island that seats 6. These all three of these things are very big, heavy, dark things on the mental canvas. Are you with me?
Oh, yeah, I'm with you. I'm hearing. Mm-hmm.
Now, look at the next things. Breakfast nook for a cozy cup of coffee in the sun. It's
light.
It's light, airy, breezy. You see?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to me. So I think that word "or" really helps to separate those and say, we can do heavy, big, weighty, meaty things, or we can do lighter, breezier, airier things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just a little minor shift there. Now, let's get back to this other part. Let me share with you an identity for a company that is sort of in a similar vein as yours. Let me find it so I can pull it up. And then we'll take this call into the home stretch and get back to Chip. By the way, Chip, I see that you're in good shape to be unmuted here in just a minute. Thank you for being patient. I showed this one on a webinar we did last week. This is a local client here in Dallas. Where is that thing? It's called Lone Star. Oh, it's under L for Lone Star. Go figure. Okay, now I'm not saying, hey, this is your identity, but I like this kind of an approach. And I want you to look at the language and how powerful it is, okay? Most remodelers are order takers. They say, tell me what you want and I'll make it happen. I'll guide you through an exhilarating brainstorming session where I'll pick your brain, throw out dozens of ideas, show you hundreds of materials, and help you discover what you really want. From the first meeting to the final walkthrough, my only concern is that you'll love the end result. Stop right there, okay? Now, look what I've communicated here. I've communicated that what you really want, you might not even know. I'm going to help you figure it out. I positioned myself as an expert without saying, hey, look at me, I'm an expert. And I've told you that other companies don't do this. And this is all very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's take that type of an approach and let's throw that into here. I think, this is my personal opinion. Sometimes people get on me for this a little bit. They say, well, that's negative. To which I reply, well, sometimes you got to be a little negative. I think it's important in an advertisement to be comparative because people don't know. And if you don't compare, then they don't know. So when you come in here and say, we have a certified kitchen designer on staff, you're assuming that people know that that's a big deal when they don't.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Mm-hmm.
You're assuming that they give that the full weight of its importance and uniqueness and difference and all of those things. And they don't know. They just hear it as, okay, well, it's a kitchen company. Of course they have a kitchen designer on staff. That's what kitchen companies do, right? Hey, come on down to our gas station. We've got pumps. Yeah, pumps, of course. Oh, what we didn't tell you is that we have this new gas pump that can fill your tank in 8 seconds with no spill and no mess and no danger.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's different, right? But
Right.
you're calling the new 8-second, no danger, no spill pump a pump. And they're going, okay.
Right. So I know you need to wrap this up. I feel badly about Chip. But so if you wanted us to move forward, because I know you know us, you know our team, if you wanted us to move forward with one of these three and get better content, which of the three do you see us using?
I think you've got I feel like I'm picking on you, and I'm really not. I like what you're doing here, okay? But I think you have a flawed concept of what a radio campaign should be. I don't see any reason why you can't use all three of these. There's no reason why you have to have every commercial sound have the same setup and the same construct.
Mm-hmm.
So I like all three of them with, they've got some work to do, and we've talked about that extensively here. So I'm not going to answer that question. I'm not going to say, well, I would use number three. I probably like number two the least amount.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's going to be hard for you to develop some good, powerful language in those 5 or 6 short snippets. These other two give you a chance to create one cohesive dialogue instead of trying to cram a bunch of snippets that are hard to develop. But I think you could use both of them very well and effectively, and you could use them at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Now, I don't normally do that. Normally, I like to find one construct that I like, but I use a different construct altogether than this, although I think this third one is closer to the construct that I would normally use. What I like to do is I like to use analogies and stories and what-ifs and interesting things to make people go, oh, that's interesting, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And get them a little bit intrigued, and then come in and start hitting them with identity, start to compare. But I like this third one is probably my favorite. But I think there's definite power in the first one. I think the one with the women could be fine-tuned and definitely used. I wouldn't just throw it out because it maybe wasn't quite as good as the third one. I would use them both anyway and fine-tune them both to make them better. In this third one that's on the screen, I would come in the middle of it, and I would say something like this. No matter what you want, regardless of what you're trying to accomplish, there's one company that can make it a reality, and only one. It's Upscale Remodel. We're the only company that does this and this and this. Mm-hmm. Most companies just take orders. They'll do whatever you say. We'll look at what you want. we'll give you dozens of ideas of our own, and we'll help you figure out what you really want. The first step is to meet with our certified kitchen designer. This is the person that will take you through this process to help you find the kitchen that you really want. Do this. Call us.
Mhm.
If you're do-it-yourself or have your own contractor, want to work with our team, give us a call, because you know what? It's a one-time deal. You've got to get it right. Let us help you make sure that you nail it. And then people hear that and they go, wow, there's a resource for somebody that's going to help me crystallize my ideas. Because I think this is a major issue. I think a lot of people have a good general idea of what they want, but they're really short on details.
Mhm.
I mean, you answer that for me, because you don't work for the company, but you work with this company a lot. This happens all the time. And when you come in as an expert and say, look, here's what your ideas are, and what about this and this and this, the people go, wow, that's awesome. I hadn't even thought of that.
Mhm.
And they like it. So, I want to be more comparative. I want people to understand that we're different. I like using words like we're the only one.
Yep.
And you don't want to lie to people and say, hey, we're the only one that have a designer on staff, if you don't. But, we're the only ones that will take your input. And I like to listen to these words over on this other identity. Pick your brain, throw out dozens of ideas, show you hundreds of materials, help you to discover what you really want. Look at the power words in that. Let me throw it back on the screen for a second. And again, I'm not suggesting this is your exact words.
No, of course not. Yeah, I get that.
But
I know you're about big power words.
Brainstorming session. Pick your brain, throw out dozens of ideas. I mean, it's just crammed, loaded with powerful words that people go, wow, that's what I want.
Mhm.
And then we look over at yours, and it's like, oh, okay, the usual stuff that everybody says.
Mhm.
At the end of this ad, here's what people take away from it. Oh, there's a company that can help me design a kitchen. To which I might reply, one of dozens of companies in the area that can help you design a kitchen.
Mhm.
We don't want to be one of dozens. We want to be the one that does this. So in that regard, I think there's a fairly significant issue that needs to be addressed. The other thing that you need to think about when you go into this radio, this is really critical, is you want to look at the stations you're going on. You want to look at what kind of schedule you've got, what your frequency is, and then that's going to help you decide what type and kinds of ads you want to run. If you've got a very high frequency, you may want to go with 2 or 3 different ads that have different styles, similar but still enough different. You may want to mix in some shorter ads. There's a lot of things to think through when going onto that radio that can determine how you want these ads to roll out.
Mhm.
So
Excellent.
take that put it in your pipe and smoke it.
Yes, I love it. It's very helpful stuff. Great.
All right.
Thank you
Well,
so
Megan,
much.
I appreciate you being on the call today. And hey, by the way, feel free to resubmit later or to come back on this call again for clarifications or we put a couple of extra concepts together. What do you think about these? Don't feel like, once you've done one, that's it.
Excellent. All right, we'll do that.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, and Chip, you are now unmuted. I should be hearing you just fine. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you for being patient with that.
Oh, sure.
Now I just got to find your newsletter. I had it earlier. Let me find that real quick. Okay, there it is. Okay, why don't you tell me about this, Chip, in general terms, in terms of how often you send it out, who you send it to, what you're trying to accomplish, et cetera, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. We send it every other month, 6 times a year. We send it, hard copy, and you and I talked briefly about that when I was in Dallas last summer. There's still a question whether that makes sense to do that or to switch over to electronic only. We send it out to between 4,000 and 5,000 people, past customers, and then anybody we've given a proposal to within the last year.
Okay, and let's address that first issue first. You send this out every other month for, I'm assuming, for a long time now, right?
Yes.
So what are you seeing from that in terms of either hard evidence results or anecdotal results that you just hear, people say they got it or stuff like that?
Oh yeah, it's definitely effective. I mean, it improved our repeat and referral business. It's the point now where I know I know it's going out in the mail because I start getting. I'll typically get about a dozen responses to the trivia question right away, which is great. So I think, I'm committed to doing it. I think it's effective. I get a lot of compliments on it. It's just a question of, and I think what you said, and I sort of agree that it's nice to have something tangible that people can hold. And most of our customers are on the older side anyway. But obviously the cost is a lot more to do it through the Postal Service than it would be electronically. I don't open many electronic newsletters.
I think that if you went to electronic, you would be sacrificing a huge amount of results, goodwill, branding, and everything else. Because here's what's going to happen. When this comes in the mail, let's assume for a minute the worst case scenario, which is somebody gets this thing and they just keep throwing it away. And they don't even look at it, right? I mean, they look at it enough to go, oh, I'm just going to throw this away, which is probably happening a high percentage of the time. Let's be honest, right?
Sure.
But you know what? You've been doing this for how long now?
Probably about 5 years.
5 years, okay? So here's what happens. I mean, you are running the classic hopper system. And I've said this, if I've said this once, I've said it 1,000 times. The consistency of a hopper system is by far more important than the content of the hopper system.
Right.
And a guy could throw this thing away without a second glance every 2 months for 5 years. And as soon as that guy decides that he needs a window, you've got him.
Right.
It's sometimes hard for us, not you, Chip, or me, Rich, but just us business people. It's hard for us to want to engage in a farming type activity like this newsletter that you're doing. The money that you're spending on it this month may not yield results until 3 years from now.
Right.
But you're very wise in doing this. I would strongly recommend, unless you just have nobody ever mentions it and it just seems like a complete bust, I would keep doing it.
No. Yeah, no, I definitely keep doing it, and my instinct is to keep doing it through mail as well, or possibly at both. I don't know if you think it's worth supplementing the hard copy with an electronic version.
It can't hurt. It can't hurt to send an electronic one, but what it wouldn't do, and I'm not saying that you're suggesting this, I wouldn't say, well, we've got an email address for this guy, so we'll just email him, but we'll mail this guy over here. I would just continue to mail the ones that you mail.
Right.
And you may even want to consider continuing to mail the ones after a year. I'm not telling you, hey, mail them longer than a year, but it's worth considering. And as you consider it, you want to look at, well, you gave them a proposal. Why didn't they buy? You don't even have to look at individuals. Just look at groups, as a whole. Why didn't they buy? Did they buy from somebody else? Do they have other needs in the future? I don't know. I would consider it as a question that's worthwhile anyway. So that's sort of a, I don't know. I mean, here's the problem with what you sell. And it's the same for everybody else on this call that's in the same industry. The problem is that people just don't need what you sell that often.
Right.
So, I mean, who's to say that 2 years is long enough? I mean, you're making almost sort of an arbitrary decision here that says, well, if somebody gave me money and bought from me, then I'll just continue to mail them forever. But if they only were interested in me and didn't buy something, then I'm not going to send them anymore.
Right.
I mean, what's the difference of their future needs?
Right.
Maybe sending them the newsletter would continue to get them over the hump for their future needs with you. Perhaps on a less expensive front, maybe a postcard could be sent out to those guys once every couple months or quarter or something. We don't need to get into the details. I'm just saying it's probably worth looking at and thinking about. But I certainly don't want you to feel like, you have to do that, and if you don't, that's
Sure.
dumb. So
Sure.
to me, it's an interesting question worth thinking about and pondering. Let's go ahead and look at the actual newsletter. What specific concerns or questions did you have about it, or is it more of a, hey, what do you think?
Yeah, what do you think, and how can I make it more impactful? My general format is to have some type of industry-related article on the front, and then more, personal, home-oriented stuff inside, and of course the cartoon and the trivia challenge and stuff like that.
All right, let's take a look at the inside. Where does the cartoon come from? Do you license it from a cartoon type place?
Yeah, license, right.
10 secrets that grade to grade a grilling. Free Boneyard. Free Light Boneyard. I think you're expecting people to know what that means. What does that mean?
It's stuff we have on hand that was misordered or returned or whatever. But you're right, I need an explanation.
Well,
I think
it can be very, very short. Just under Free Light
Yeah.
Boneyard, just put a leftover extra,
Right.
great prices on closeouts or whatever.
Yeah, a good point.
That's kind of the feeling there, but I don't really know, right? So I'm
Sure.
like, okay, maybe Chip's just turned into a pirate. Who knows? So as I look at the middle 2 pages of this, what I'm gathering that you're trying to accomplish is interesting light reading that people would want to read just because they're interested, and some non-threatening sales attempts.
Right.
Does that sound about right?
Yes.
Not trying to say, hey, buy stuff and get all in their face, but hey, we've got some good deals. If you give us a referral, we'll give you some money. I think the inside of this is pretty good. I'm a little more concerned about the outside of it.
Okay.
And the reason is I'm looking at this article, residential window sales growth expected to continue, and I'm looking at that going, okay, I'm trying to figure out who would be interested in reading that article.
Right. Yeah,
Maybe
this one was a little
just,
too industry-oriented and technical.
Yeah.
So
Now,
you're saying be sure to gear it
let
towards...
me tell you what's ideal. I'll tell you what's ideal, and then I'll tell you what maybe is more feasible. And the reason ideal may not be feasible is because it might honestly just be too hard to pull off. Here's what's ideal, is to have somebody like yourself sit down and write an article that is personal, that is interesting, and that, I'm going to use the word one more time, is personal. Now, here's what I don't mean. I don't mean, hey, I just went to the doctor and here's the results of my exam. That's not what I mean.
Sure.
But what I mean is maybe even not window related, but just, part of the aura and intrigue of your company, I happen to know from a lot of discussion with you, is the way that you and your partners in your company thinks, the way that just there's a way of doing business that guides your thinking and the way you do stuff. Is that true enough?
Yes.
And when I saw your company was called Free Light, I immediately latched onto that. I went, it's sort of a free thinking, light, not weighty, not oppressive, just kind of a light, free way of doing business. I mean, it was such an appropriate name.
Right.
So here's what's ideal is, what if you were to look and say, you know what, I'm going to write articles that are on this sort of topic of things that are easy and light and ways that people can improve their lives and lessons that you've learned and interesting things that you know, and you were thinking about this, and my daughter who's grown and has kids, my grandkids just had this experience and it made me think about this. Of course, I just made that up, right? But you see where I'm going with this?
So, yeah, make it really personal.
Well, but then have an overriding theme of of, you're kind of the Life is Good company. You know the Life is Good guys?
Right.
You know that brand I'm talking about?
Yeah, the T-shirts and the hats.
The smiley face? That's almost kind of what your company reminds me of.
Right.
Am I off base with that, or you hear me say that and go,
no, I think it's
I
pretty
don't know where
accurate.
you came up with that, Rich.
No, I think that's true.
For instance, what if you wrote an article that says, live every day as if it was your last day, and I'm going to completely make this up, but just to kind of give you a feel, okay? I got that phone call last week, the one that you never want to get, that scares the living daylights out of you, that makes your wife say, oh my gosh, what is it? Well, it was my good friend Dave from college, and turns out he'd been to the doctors, due to terminal illness or cancer or whatever, and it just froze me in my tracks. I'm getting a little bit older now, but I enjoyed good health, and it just brought my own mortality to my attention. And as I worked through my feelings of sadness and grief for my friend, it just made me really reflect and think about my own life and things that maybe I need to work harder on. And quite frankly, all of us do. The old saying, "Stop and smell the roses," isn't just for Ann Landers. It's really true. And I sat down and made a list of 5 areas that I really feel like I need to pick up and do better in that. And maybe this is something that could help you too. Number 1, repair any relationships that have gone awry. And as I examine my life, I don't have any mortal enemies or anything like that. But you know what? There's a few that I've let slip, and there's a few bad feelings that I've let. I'm completely making this up. But you see where I'm going with it?
Yeah.
And if people read that, at the end of it, they're like, oh, man, this guy Chip is awesome. And it doesn't have to be from you. I know you've got partners, and, I don't know where the spotlight needs to shine and all that kind of stuff. But just articles that people go, wow, this is really interesting. Wow, I feel good when I read this.
So
now, that's ideal. And the reason it's ideal is that's hard to do.
Yeah. but in others don't feel compelled to tie it into the business we do, the products or anything.
Well, what I would do if I were you, and Chip, here's what I'm not doing. I'm not sitting here saying the way that you're doing it now is wrong. I'm not saying that at all. I don't even want you to think that I'm hinting at that. But I would capitalize on this free light type of an approach of doing business. And, you're a feel-good company, you're a healthy living and right living, and relationships are important. I mean, when I describe you to other people, and I have before, because I've talked about you in conversations with people because I like the way you do business, and I think it's interesting. You're kind of like a grown-up hippie, right?
I don't know about that. I see what you're saying. I wouldn't use that term.
Take all the negative connotation out of hippie and keep all the good parts of it. And these are people that are in touch with themselves, and relationships are important, and the earth is important. And I'm not. Maybe you're conservative or liberal. It's not even important, but you understand where I'm going with this. Right. And I would make articles like that people start to look at it and go, oh, I wonder what Chip's going to say this time. Because right what we've got here, people look at this and go, residential windows expected to continue, and they go, okay,
right,
whatever.
Yeah, that was a stretch, but I see where you're going. Yeah.
Okay, so that was ideal. Let's go down the ladder a notch to maybe more plausible. And in this regard, I would maybe put some sort of article about home or living, maybe not necessarily windows, but here's some ideas for, and these are things that you could probably source from another place.
Yeah, that's what I usually do, like home sales in Phoenix, or going, or improving, or stuff that's more pertinent to the homeowner. Yeah.
4 tips to increase your home value if you're thinking of selling. Whatever. I don't know.
Right.
That would be stuff that people look at and go, oh, that's kind of interesting, and maybe that's not applicable to me right now because I'm not trying to sell my home right now, but it's interesting enough I might read it anyway. So I might go there. So I would just be wary of things that are a little too niched, a little too, dry.
Sure.
a rebound in the home construction has helped residential window and doors get back on the road. I just don't think anybody really gives a rat's butt.
Right. That's a good point. How about the little things like the just for laughs and the trivia challenge and the Sudoku?
I like it. I mean, look, man, here's what you're trying to do. You're trying to put yourself in front of people. You're trying to make them feel good about your company. You're trying to tell them, hey, if you happen to need something, call us. That's what you're trying to tell them. I think that's what you're trying to accomplish with this.
Yeah, definitely.
And if while doing that, you can forge, create, and strengthen an identity of a company that is free and light, then I would do that. So, I know a little bit about you, and I think you could almost pull that off, that first one. I really do.
Well, I enjoy writing, and it would be fun.
And you know what you need to do is just start being observed. I mean, I do this for a living, write things, and I'm writing articles and blog postings all the time, and it's just always way more interesting when you can take something that's happened to you and compare it to something to make a point, and then encourage people to do the same. I mean, that's why I tell stories about kids and basketball. There's things that people can relate to.
Right.
And so as you start looking for those, here's what's interesting. They'll start flooding, and you'll find them all around you, and you'll say, wow, that's interesting.
Sure. I like it.
I'm a runner. I run a lot, and man, I think I've written 5 or 6 articles that talk about running. Now, I know that most people aren't fanatical about running. Most people can take it or leave it, and a lot of people don't like it at all. But when you take and say, hey, I was running and I had this experience, and that kind of reminded me of, this, it's just it's an interesting way to talk to people.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think people like a story, and if you can extrapolate from that and make a more general point, that's powerful.
Well, let me just give you one more example, then I'll let you go. I was writing a blog posting recently, and the topic of the blog posting was essentially to say there's 6 different components or skill sets that a remodeling business owner needs to have to be successful. They need to have sales management, operations, finance, production, and marketing expertise in order to successfully run a company. And I sat down to write this article, and the point of the article is to say, look, you probably don't come from a marketing background, so the fact that you struggle with marketing is okay. That was really the point of the article. And I sat down to write it, and I was trying to write it, and it just kept coming out very straightforward and uninteresting. And then I thought of the one person that I know in the industry that really is a marketing wizard. It's a guy named Brian Elias up in Detroit, Hanson's Windows. And I came up with this first line. In my I don't remember exactly, but in my 8 years of working with the home improvement remodeling industry, in that entire time, I've met exactly one marketing genius. Now, people read that, and the first thing they want to know is what?
Who is it?
Well, who is it?
Sure.
And after they find out the name of the person, they want to know, well, what did this person do that allowed them to be branded a wizard? I'm
right.
pretty good, so why am I not a wizard? And then I go on to talk about it, right? You got to just look for interesting ways to start articles. So I like the concept here in general. I like this Sudoku and the green tips, and there's a little bit of different kinds of things in here so people can pick and choose what's interesting to them. I like it. I really do. I think the next level of this is for you to make it more personal and have people start to latch on to you as a company because of your identity, which is we're this company that's easy to do business with. We don't take ourselves particularly seriously, but we do outstanding work. That's what you're all about.
Sure. Great. I like that.
Yeah. So anyway, as you go back over to the middle pages, I think you've got a very good mix of trying to sell you stuff versus giving you, laughs and cartoons and trivia and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I think it's good. I like it. I like it a lot.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's
Appreciate
it.
the
Thanks
feedback.
for being patient. I know you tried to get this in last week and then at the beginning of the call, so thanks for that, and we'll talk to you soon. Specifically,
Very
I'll
good.
have to talk to you this afternoon. Thanks.
Right. Thanks, Rich. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.